So picture this, an empire that spans 25 million worlds, a civilization so huge, so ancient, it feels like it's gonna last forever. Now, imagine it's all about to collapse into 30,000 years of darkness. This is the incredible setup for Isaac Asimov's epic saga, Foundation, which isn't just about the fall of an empire, but about a truly brilliant plan to save the future from itself. And this right here is the heart of the whole problem, laid out by the story's mastermind, Hari Seldon. He saw that when the galactic empire finally crumbles, it's not just governments that are going to fall apart. It's knowledge itself. Think about it. Every scientific discovery, every piece of art, all of human history just shattered into a million pieces and lost forever. I mean, the stakes just could not be higher. And that is the big question that gets this whole thing started. What if the fall is coming no matter what, but that massive dark age isn't? What if one guy had a plan so clever, so completely audacious, that it could slash 30,000 years of barbarism down to just 1,000? Well, that's the promise of the Foundation. Now, to really get the plan, you first have to understand the prophecy. We are in the final days of the First Galactic Empire. Its capital, Trantor, is this planet-sized city of shining metal, but deep down, the rot has already set in. And one man, a mathematician named Hari Seldon, is about to prove it to the entire galaxy. Seldon's secret weapon is this revolutionary science he invented called Psychohistory. Now, it can't tell you what one person is going to do tomorrow, that's impossible, but the actions of quadrillions of people. Seldon figured out that on that scale, humanity starts to act like a gas, following predictable mathematical laws. And using these equations, he proves, without a doubt, that Trantor, the glorious heart of the empire, is going to be utterly destroyed in just 3 centuries. And this is where you see the true scale of what Seldon is trying to do. The natural course of history, that predicts 30,000 years of chaos and suffering before a second empire can even begin to form. But Seldon's plan, his foundation, is designed to cut that all the way down to a single millennium. It's a goal so ambitious, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Of course, the rulers of the empire do not like hearing about their own doom and gloom future. They call Seldon a traitor, but instead of just executing him, they give him another option: exile. He and his followers are shipped off to Terminus, this desolate rock at the absolute edge of the galaxy, supposedly to write down all of human knowledge in a great encyclopedia. But this whole thing, it's just the opening move in Seldon's massive galactic chess game. But for the plan to work, it first has to survive its very first test. Okay, so 50 years go by. Hari Seldon is long gone, and his encyclopedists are alone, they're vulnerable, and they're about to face their first big crisis. So out on the edge of the galaxy, the old empire has basically shattered. Warlords have carved out their own little kingdoms, and the strongest one, Anachron, sees this tiny, resource-poor planet of Terminus as an easy target. They've got warships, the Foundation has scholars. So the question is, how does a bunch of academics survive an invasion? And this immediately causes a clash of ideas. You've got the old guard, the encyclopedists, who are still living in the past. They want to send letters to an emperor who has no real power left. But the new mayor, a guy named Salvor Hardin, he sees reality for what it is. He knows the only way they're going to survive is to be smarter than everyone else, to play his enemies against each other and make the Foundation too valuable to destroy. And this is Hardin's whole philosophy. He proves that real power isn't about having the biggest stick. It's about being clever enough that you never have to use it. Through pure political maneuvering, he completely neutralizes the threat from Anacreon, establishing the Foundation's first and most important tool for survival: cunning. But here's the thing about Seldon's plan. It's a moving target. The solutions that work yesterday aren't going to solve the problems of tomorrow. The Foundation has to adapt, especially when politics just isn't enough anymore. So, the next crisis hits. The barbarian kingdoms are still a threat, but this time they're not just after land. They want the Foundation's advanced technology, its nuclear power. And Anachron's new king is a man of direct action who can't be tricked with clever treaties. A new kind of weapon is needed. Hardin's solution this time is just pure genius. He gives the barbarians the tech they want, but he wraps it all up in a cloak of mysticism. Science basically becomes magic, and it can only be operated by a special priesthood that's trained on Terminus and loyal only to the Foundation. Suddenly, the galactic spirit is the source of all power, and the Foundation controls it.
And the result is absolutely spectacular. When Anachron's fleet moves to attack the Foundation, the High Priest on the main battleship just declares the whole thing sacrilege. He shuts down the entire ship from the inside, the crew mutinies against their king, and the people back home rise up in protest. The Foundation wins a war by literally turning off the lights, proving that faith can be way more powerful than any worship. All right, so the Foundation has mastered politics and now religion. But history keeps moving, and the next crisis is going to demand a third, even more subtle form of power. The next big challenge comes from the Republic of Coral. Its leader, Commodore Asper, is no superstitious barbarian. He sees the Foundation's religion for exactly what it is, a tool for control, and he wants nothing to do with it. Oh, and he's also getting weapons from what's left of the old empire. So, how do you control an enemy who doesn't believe in your gods? Well, the old guard is totally stumped. Their one big trick, religion, is useless here. But a new power has been rising in the Foundation, the traitors. And their champion, Hober Mallow, has a brand new idea. Don't sell them faith, sell them convenience. Sell them shiny consumer goods that will slowly and invisibly make their entire economy rely on you. Mallow's trap is all about economics. He introduces these cool new gadgets that make life easier and technology that makes their factories 20 times more profitable. So when Corel eventually declares war, Mallow does absolutely nothing. He just cuts off all trade. No battles, no heroics. He just waits for their machines to stop working, for their factories to grind to a halt, and for the people to realize they like their fancy new stuff more than they like war. And this quote just captures the shift perfectly. The new power is commerce. It's pragmatic, it's amoral, and it's brutally effective. It's not about saving souls anymore. It's about controlling spreadsheets. And just like that, the Foundation overcomes its third crisis. So, when you take a step back and look at the big picture, you realize these weren't just a series of random challenges. It was a pattern, a blueprint, laid out by Hari Seldon over a century and a half before any of it happened. First, the Foundation had to master the art of politics, learning how to survive with nothing but its wits when it had zero physical strength. Then, it had to learn how to wield the power of belief, creating a spiritual empire that could control its neighbors way more effectively than any army could. And finally, it evolved to use the most subtle and pervasive power of all, money, building an economic web that trapped its enemies more tightly than any fleet ever could. Politics, then religion, then economics. Each one was the perfect solution for its time, and each one was eventually replaced as history marched forward. As Hari Seldon himself basically confirms, these crises are unavoidable, pre-planned steps on the path. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. As economic power becomes the norm, what new force will rise up to challenge it, and what new solution will Seldon's plan require next? The blueprint of history just keeps unfolding.